And this is what I see in business a lot of the time. And this is why when we talk about, the team piece and what I've learned is there are a huge amount of people out there right now building a business, particularly because you hear so much about burnout. People are literally physiologically addicted to stress and struggle. Literally, cortisol is a hormone. And people, if you're pumping out cortisol, living your life in survival, and people may not know that because they're still functioning, they're still doing the do. But actually, if you're living in survival, doing the do, so to speak, at some point your body will give. You'll get some chronic illnesses, you'll get inflammation, because if you're as human beings our number one priority is survival and to move away from pain. So if we're fully focused living in survival, all of the other systems in our body aren't functioning effectively. So that's when autoimmune disorders, digestive issues, endocrine issues, skin conditions, psoriasis, eczema, these are bodies in inflammation because you're pumping out cortisol because you're living in a survival response. The problem being with that is if you've been doing that for a long period of time, the moment your business might be starting to get calm, or the moment your life is starting to have a sense of peace, you need the cortisol again. You are
drop a bomb in.
Yeah, you will pivot. You'll suddenly then do a business in something else. You'll create drama somewhere because your body is physiologically craving the cortisol in it. And people get addicted to that feeling, not from choice. It's just what feels their version of safe and normal, because the body then is braced for the fight or flight because it's ready for whatever is going to happen. And to take that away from somebody, they might not want to feel like this. This is where the psychology, physiology is. They know they don't want to feel like that, and they'll go and do calming exercises and stuff like this. The problem being is if you don't understand the science behind all of this, somebody who is in that fight-flight response all of the time and you're saying calm down, if they calm down too much, they will go into a collapse state and go into a real freeze, because too calm to somebody who's been braced for so long feels dangerous. So you just have to have enough energy to discharge there to still have some, but not get rid of it too much, because then your body will shut down as well. So you've got to understand the science behind fight, flight and freeze as survival responses. But if you're running your businesses in these, very often people are actually doing the wrong thing and actually making it worse because they don't understand the physiology behind all of that.
And like you said, we crave familiarity as humans. So if you've got that sense of, oh my God, I'm up against it, you probably subconsciously, maybe this is my own trauma coming to the surface here, I feel like I'm in freeze right now. We've talked about this before many times, but I suppose if
you're still functioning.
But you're still functioning, but you almost feel like, if I don't feel a bit anxious, then I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not pushing hard enough. I'm not achieving stuff. If I step off the gas, I'm going backwards.
Yeah. And it's a really good way of thinking about it from your nervous system state. So think of fight, flight, like I've got my foot on the accelerator. Think of freeze, I've got my foot on the brake. Now, if we're regulated, because we've got the capacity for this, I'm building my business. Oh, I need to do a bit more today. I'm just going to put my foot on the accelerator here because I'm doing this, but I'm not in shutdown or burnout, okay? I've got the balance right. Now it's like, I'm going to have a nice bath and relax and everything, so I'm just going to put my foot on the brake a little bit. The problem with a lot of people is they've got their foot rammed down on the accelerator and they're like this all of the time. And actually many can often get diagnosed with ADHD at this point as well. And really we need to be asking every diagnosis of ADHD, what's the trauma history as well? It's a really, really important point, because it could be both, or it could actually just be trauma, or it could just be ADHD.
Being misdiagnosed.
Misdiagnosed, yeah,
wow,
absolutely.
Okay.
And then on the other side of that, if someone's just got their foot on the brake all of the time, struggling to get out of bed, they're going to feel a lot of shame. But actually, it's survival physiology here. A lot of people as well have what we call high dorsal tone. They've got their foot rammed on the brake and the accelerator. Yeah. So outside, they look like they're not doing too much. You might think they're in freeze, but inside, they're like wired. So if you sit down at the end of the day and you feel like your mind is going, your body is going, there's a lot of sympathetic charge in there, but you're feeling exhausted on the outside, that's what we call a high dorsal tone. So you're feeling all of this fizziness inside. You watch TV, you're flicking the channels all the time, or you try and read and you're everywhere, or you're scrolling. You literally can't sit still. And then for others, they sit still, but go into a collapse as well. So if you're trying to run your business like this as well, it's so difficult because at some point, your body will give way. Might start to whisper at you and we might get away from it for a long period of time. But at some point, your body will absolutely shout at you with an illness or burnout or whatever that might be. Or you're just not being high performing because your capacity is kind of here. So you've got all your life going into a capacity this size, you're going to shut down. You can't cope. So you'll have days when you're on it and then days when you're not. And you've kind of got this roller coaster because your capacity isn't there. If you build a capacity to cope with everything going on in your life. I think even in the last month, my dad's been in hospital. We thought he was going to die. I've lost someone in the business who was a friend. And yeah, that's been tough. There's been a lot of grief wrapped up in all of that. My daughter started her A-levels. My son's doing stuff, building a business, all of these. If I didn't have the capacity to hold all of that, I'd probably be rocking in a corner somewhere, literally.
How do you develop the capacity?
Over time.